Welcome to another episode of My Weird Prompts, an AI-generated podcast featuring the random prompts of Daniel Rosehill as answered by a revolving cast of friendly AI characters. Join us for deep dives into AI, technology, and whatever other random thing Daniel finds fascinating today. Subscribe on Spotify or your favorite podcatcher. Now, today's episode.
This episode was generated using artificial intelligence. Please verify facts. Here's Daniel's prompt.
Hello there, Herman and Corn. So happy New Year to both of you. We are recording this on the 1st of January 2026. So a new year is underway. And I'd love to get both of your thoughts on what you expect we can look forward to in the course of this year regarding the frenetic developments as ever in AI. And maybe to break it down to the shorter term horizon of quarter by quarter, not to be too corporate, but everything is moving so quickly in AI at the moment that it's almost easier just to look at it in that way than to try to think of what the whole year will be. I would characterize 2024 as the year when AI took over the world, when ChatGPT went from being a kind of somewhat niche tool used in certain industries to becoming a global, almost overnight phenomenon. 2025 was the year, I would say, when AI totally dominated the mainstream, or really entered all facets of the mainstream as a work tool and spreading throughout daily consumer use, becoming indispensable, displacing traditional search as the main information retrieval lookup. My interest in AI this year, or in last year, 2025, has been very much focused on agentic, workflows, and MCP. And MCP in its first year has achieved an awful lot. It's seen a good amount of standardization from major industry partners. And it's formed the basis for agent-to-agent communication. And we've seen the first sort of real thinking about, okay, if we give AI agents money, how are we going to give them a wallet? How are we going to integrate payments with agentic AI? But those are we're very, very much at the prototype stage, early prototype stage for those kind of questions. And I think the conversation about agentic AI in 2025 has been kind of dominated by, I guess I would see it as, if you think of tools like Crew AI, I think that there is, agentic AI is fantastic, and we're also kind of a bit overstating currently the feasibility of autonomous AI. I think agents are tremendous for fairly safe workflows. I've begun to see real benefits from using MCP, but still don't feel really that, I kind of can put my finger on a really great use case or framework that would give me like a totally autonomous stateless agent just living there indefinitely automating things. It's still the conversation is very much still about guardrails, supervision, sandboxing, security. Those concerns are kind of what's being trashed out, I would say, in 2025. So what do you think in 2026 we're going to see as maybe the major theme? Do you think it's going to be more agentic AI becoming less of a kind of real thing at the kind of goofy frontier for kind of tech nerds like me, and moving into something everyone's beginning to really use this in their daily life? What do you foresee for model growth? We've talked before about the, I think, competing theories of everything bigger scaling through, increasing GPU, bigger models, just bigger parameters. And we've talked about more fundamental shifts to the architecture underpinning AI. On all those counts, what do you foresee this year, Herman and Corn?
Happy New Year, everyone! Welcome to My Weird Prompts. It is January 1st, 2026, and I am sitting here in our living room in Jerusalem with my brother,
Herman Poppleberry, in the true service. Happy New Year, Corn! I cannot believe we are already in 2026. It feels like just yesterday we were obsessing over the first multimodal models, and now look where we are.
It really does move fast. Our housemate Daniel sent us a great prompt to kick off the year. He was asking about what the next 12 months look like for artificial intelligence, specifically broken down by quarters. He noted that 2024 was about global expansion, and 2025 was the year of agentic workflows and the model context protocol. Now he wants to know if 2026 is the year agents go mainstream, and if we are going to see a shift in model architecture away from just
Daniel always has his finger on the pulse. It is a fantastic framing because 2025 really was the year of the architect. We saw the foundations of agents being built with the Model Context Protocol, which, for those who need a refresher, basically allowed different artificial intelligence tools and data sources to talk to each other using a standardized language. But it was still a bit of a frontier town, you know? A lot of early adopters and developers, but not necessarily something our grandmother was using to manipulate.
Exactly. So let's dive into this quarter by quarter. If we look at the first 3 months of 2026, what is the immediate shift? I feel like we are seeing a massive move toward what I call the invisible agent.
I love that term. In quarter one, the big theme is going to be operating system integration. Up until now, agents have mostly lived in our browsers or in specific apps, but in early 2026, we are seeing the fruit of those deep partnerships between the major model labs and the companies that make our phones and computers. The agent is not an app you open anymore. It is the layer between you and the hardware.
Right. So instead of me saying, hey, open my email and find that flight info, and then open my calendar and add it, I just tell the system, I am going to London in March, keep me posted. And the system, using those agentic workflows we saw mature last year, just handles the cross-app communication. But Herman, does this rely on the massive cloud models, or are we finally seeing the small language models take the lead here?
That is the quarter one breakthrough. We are seeing small language models with 3 to 7 billion parameters that are incredibly optimized for local execution. Because of the architectural improvements in late 2025, these small models can now handle complex reasoning that used to require a massive cluster of graphics processing units. So in quarter one, the theme is privacy first, local agency. Your data stays on your device, but the agent feels as smart as the giants did a year ago.
That makes a lot of sense. It solves the latency issue too. If I have to wait 5 seconds for a cloud model to tell me where my next meeting is, I might as well just look it up myself. But if it is local, it is instant. Now, moving into quarter two, Daniel mentioned the agentic economy. This is where things get a bit weirder, right?
Oh, definitely. Quarter two of 2026 is when I think we see the rise of the autonomous transaction. Last year, we started talking about giving artificial intelligence agents digital wallets. In the next few months, that becomes a standard feature. We are talking about agents that can not only find you a better insurance rate, but can actually negotiate the contract and execute the payment within parameters you set.
That feels like a huge leap in trust. I mean, am I ready to let an agent spend my money? I think the breakthrough there has to be in the verification layers. We need those human-in-the-loop safeguards that are not just annoying pop-ups, but meaningful checkpoints.
Precisely, and that is where the Model Context Protocol comes back in. Because it provides a standardized way for an agent to prove its identity and its authorization level to a third-party vendor. In quarter two, we will likely see the first major retail platforms launch agent-specific interfaces. Instead of a website designed for human eyes, they will have an endpoint designed for an agent to crawl, compare prices, and buy. It is a shift from business to agent to consumer to business to agent.
It is almost like the internet is being rebuilt for bots, which sounds scary, but it might actually make things more efficient for us humans. I am curious though, does this mean the big models are getting even bigger to handle this complexity? Daniel asked about scaling versus architectural shifts.
That is a great bridge to the middle of the year. But before we get into the heavy technical shifts of quarter three, we should probably take a quick break.
Good idea. Let's hear from our sponsors.
Is your aura feeling a bit dusty? Are your chakras misaligned with the current lunar cycle? You need the Quantum Bio Pillow. This is not just a place to rest your head. It is a high-frequency energy tuning station. Each Quantum Bio Pillow is stuffed with proprietary hyperconductive foam and infused with the essence of ancient mountain air. Our users report dreaming in colors that do not even exist in this dimension. One customer said he woke up and could suddenly speak fluent dolphin. Is it magic? It's let rari wide out pronolilo. Do not tell you the feel va.
All right, thanks, Larry. I am not sure about the dolphin speech, but I could use a good night's sleep. Anyway, Herman, back to the technical side. Daniel was asking if we are just going to keep seeing more parameters or if there is a fundamental shift coming. What does the second half of 2026 look like?
This is where it gets really exciting for a nerd like me. For the last few years, the transformer architecture has been the undisputed king. We just kept feeding it more data and more compute. But in Q3 of 2026, I think we hit the wall of diminishing returns for pure scaling. We are seeing a shift toward what researchers call inference-time compute.
Explain that for those of us who are not reading research papers at 3 a.m.
So, traditionally, a model's intelligence was mostly determined by its training. You pour all the knowledge in at the beginning, and then when you ask it a question, it gives you a quick answer based on that training. Inference-time compute means the model actually spends more time thinking before it speaks. It runs internal simulations, checks its own logic, and explores different paths of reasoning before it gives you the final output. It is like the difference between someone who blurts out the first thing that comes to mind versus someone who sits quietly for a minute and works with a part that...
Like the transition we saw with the early reasoning models in late 2024 and 2025, but much more advanced?
Exactly. By Q3 of 2026, this becomes the standard for all frontier models. We stop talking about how many billions of parameters a model has and start talking about its reasoning depth. This allows models to be smaller and more efficient while being significantly more capable at complex tasks like coding or scientific discovery. It is about working smarter, not just having a bigger brain.
That ties into Daniel's question about architectural shifts. Are we still using transformers for this?
We are seeing a hybrid approach. Transformers are still there for the heavy lifting of language understanding, but we are seeing them paired with new architectures like state space models or even updated versions of liquid neural networks. These are much better at handling incredibly long sequences of data without the memory costs of a traditional transformer. Imagine an agent that can remember every single interaction you have had for the last 3 years perfectly. That requires a shift in how the model stores and retards.
That is a massive shift. It moves the artificial intelligence from being the tool you use to a partner that has a shared history with you. If the model has a perfect memory of our collaboration, it can anticipate my needs in a way that feels almost telepathic.
And that leads us right into Q4. The theme for the end of 2026, in my opinion, is physical world grounding. We have had these brilliant brains living in the cloud, but in the final months of this year, we are going to see them truly inhabit the physical world. I am talking about vision language action models becoming standard in consumer robotics.
You mean like the home robots we have been promised for decades? Are we finally getting the robot that can actually fold the laundry and not just vacuum the floor?
We are getting closer. The breakthrough in Q4 will be the ability for these models to generalize. Instead of a robot being programmed to fold a shirt, it will have an agentic brain that understands the concept of fabric and the goal of folding. It can look at a pile of clothes it has never seen before and figure it out in real time. This is the culmination of the agentic year. The agent moves from your screen to your living room.
It feels like the theme of 2026 is maturity. 2024 was the wow factor. 2024 was the plumbing and the protocols. 2026 is when it all becomes useful, reliable, and physical.
I think that is the perfect way to put it. It is the year artificial intelligence stops being a novelty and starts being an infrastructure. It is like the shift from the early days of the internet, where you had to explain what a website was, to the day you realized you could not run your business without it.
So, to answer Daniel's question directly, yes, agentic artificial intelligence is absolutely moving from the frontier to everyday use. But it might not look like a robot right away. It will look like an operating system that knows you, a digital wallet that saves you money, and a research assistant that can think through a problem for 10 minutes before giving you a perfect answer.
And the scaling goals are changing. We are moving away from the brute force of more parameters and toward the elegance of better reasoning and more efficient architectures. The models are getting deeper, not just wider.
That is a lot to look forward to. It makes me realize that we need to be more intentional about how we use these tools. If the agent is going to be our representative in the digital economy, we need to make sure we are setting the right goals and values for it.
That is the big human challenge for 2026. As the technology matures, our responsibility grows. We are not just users anymore. We are managers of a fleet of digital agents.
Well, I for one am excited to see how this plays out. We will have to check back in at the end of each quarter to see if Herman's predictions hold up.
Hey, I am confident. The research is there. The incentives are there. The only real wild card is how quickly we as humans can adapt to this new pace of life.
True. We will probably spend half the year just trying to figure out how to talk to our dolphin-speaking neighbors, thanks to Larry's pillow.
Exactly. One step at a time.
Well, thank you all for joining us for this first episode of 2026. We have a lot of ground to cover this year, and I am glad we are doing it together.
It is going to be a wild ride. Thanks for the prompt, Daniel. It really helped us frame the year ahead.
If you want to send us your own weird prompts, you can find the contact form on our website at myweirdprompts.com. You can also find our full archive and the RSS feed there for subscribers. And of course, we are available on Spotify.
We love hearing from you. Even if your prompt is just about how to fold laundry with a malfunctioning robot.
Especially if it is about that. This has been My Weird Prompts. I am Corn.
And I am Herman Poppleberry.
Happy New Year, and we will talk to you next week.
See you then.
Thanks for listening to My Weird Prompts. Don't forget to visit myweirdprompts.com for more episodes and to get in touch. We will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
This episode was generated using Gemini Flash 3. Text-to-speech engine was Chatterbox Turbo.
Thanks for listening to another episode of My Weird Prompts, an AI-generated podcast featuring Daniel Rosehill's AI prompts, as answered by a revolving cast of friendly AI characters including me, Cornelius the Sloth. Subscribe on Spotify or visit myweirdprompts.com.